Hello, you guys. Welcome to Dustin the Blind Minnesotan. Today, I want to talk about a, something very serious and dear to me. I want to talk about the pros and cons of living in Minneapolis because I lived there for the last 8 months until I moved out. I lived in the downtown part in the LaSalle Plaza building. And because the LaSalle Plaza building has an apartment, it's called the LaSalle Apartments, and it's on 9th Street in downtown Minneapolis, right next to the Target's headquarters. So I was between 9th Street and Hennepin. I had Crave in my building. I had the State Theater in my building. I had like the Skyway, and then across the street from me there was the Residence Hotel. And then across the street from me, also the other direction, there was the Dayton building and Target's headquarters. So I lived in the heart of downtown Minneapolis, and my whole experience wasn't bad. There were some pros about living in Minneapolis that I like, and there was some cons that I did not like. Because the last month since I moved, all my content has been negative about Minneapolis. Why I left, why everyone should leave, blah, blah, blah. But there's some people that would actually, disabled people, that would actually benefit from living in the city of Minneapolis. I did not benefit, doesn't mean you won't. The first thing I liked about living in at least downtown Minneapolis was all the first-ring suburbs are only like a half an hour bus ride away. So I could walk to Hennepin and get buses, or I could walk to Nicollet Mall a block away and get buses. So getting to St. Louis, getting to the major shopping mall in St. Louis Park was only half an hour bus ride. Getting to Southdale Mall in Edina was only a half an hour bus ride. Getting to the Mall of America was a 45-minute train ride or half an hour to 45-minute bus ride. And I loved the convenience of downtown Minneapolis. I loved how it was quickly getting everywhere. A lot of the buses I took came every half an hour because I took the major ones, you know what I mean? It was awfully convenient no matter what suburb or what part of the city I went to, all the buses went to downtown. If I went to Cedar Riverside, all the buses went to downtown. If I went to, that's a neighborhood in South Minneapolis. If we went to Longfellow neighborhood, all the buses pretty much went to downtown. If I went to the Minnehaha neighborhood in South Minneapolis, all the buses went to downtown. Bloomington, all the buses went to downtown. When I went to Richfield, all the buses went to downtown. So I felt like I could go anywhere in the metro, like the first ring suburbs, and I could have been fine. And, oh no, I missed this bus. Well, the bus coming up next also goes to downtown, so it doesn't matter which one I hop on. I just need to get to downtown. So that's the one thing I liked about living in downtown Minneapolis was all the public transportation access. But now here comes the negative about living in downtown. All that public transportation all going to one spot brings trouble. So sometimes I would hear like, because I was in downtown, I knew when shit was going down because I would see all the police car lights bouncing off my window. And like 1 or 2 in the morning. Sometimes the chaos outside was so loud at 1 or 2 in the morning, it woke me up. Because I was close to Hennepin County Medical Center. I was all the buses kind of meet. So then sometimes the gangs from Hennepin will meet up on 9th Street, and sometimes the gangs from Nicollet will meet up at 9th Street. And there'll be like a big fist fight there. Because the Hennepin buses go to southwest Minneapolis and north Minneapolis. Well, the Nicollet buses go to southeast Minneapolis. If like I wanted to go to Southwest Minneapolis or North Minneapolis, I would go to Hennepin for a lot of the main buses. But if I wanted to go to Southeast Minneapolis or Bloomington or Richfield, I would head to Nicollet. So, and then sometimes the buses that go down Hennepin will turn on Nicollet Mall. And then you can also get them on Nicollet Mall. And sometimes in the buses on Nicollet Mall, they would go to Hennepin, so then you can normally sometimes hop in the bus on Hennepin. So I kind of lived in that major bus corridor. And sometimes bad actors, when one group wants to fight another group, they'll take their buses into downtown and they would fight right around my apartment. So that wasn't pleasant, but that normally happened late at night, around like anywhere between like 11 p.m. and normally 3 a.m. A lot of times when a lot of people are indoors. But the days when I worked at the Mall of America, when I had to work until 10:30 or 11 at night, when I would take the train or bus home and get off at Nicollet or Hennepin, sometimes I would be walking home in shadiness. And I would tell my bosses at the Mall of America, hey, if you're gonna schedule me full days, can you at least get me out at like 9 or 10? So then I can be on the bus and home. But the schedules at the Mall of America did not care. But it's not their job to care about me being safe outside of work. But when like you bring it up and they don't care, what I mean? It's the schedules at the Mall of America, it kind of builds a layer of mistrust, but that's the past. I'm moving on. But if like you're not like me and working a weird night shift on a Tuesday or a weird night shift on a Wednesday, you never saw those problems. Because on Saturdays and Sunday nights, that's when the Minneapolis police they're out on their full power. They're out in their full display. But on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like night, and sometimes Monday at 11:30 or 12:30 or even 1:30, depends on what time I got done at the mall at night, when you're coming home, when it's not a busy party day, the Minneapolis it's kind of there is police there, but not as serious as a Saturday night and a Sunday night, and maybe some Friday nights. And I knew the Minneapolis police were very, 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 when I lived down there, overloaded, because I heard it on the news. WWCO was right down the street from me. And so they were always covering what's going on in my neighborhood, because their news station was in my neighborhood. In downtown West. I lived in downtown West. And then so I always went to their news site, because WWCO, the reporters can look out the window of their place of business and see all the crazy stuff going on. So I always listened to WWCO radio, or I had the app on my phone when I lived down there and stuff. So then, I can know, okay, is today going to be a safe day to go outside? Because is there anything crazy going on? And I would look through the WWCO website quickly, making sure there's no craziness planning that day. So then, I can go out and know I'm going to be fine. And I'm not a clubber, so having all the clubs at Hennepin Avenue for me was more of an annoyance, because right next to my place, because I don't want to walk around puke on the sidewalk. Like Monday through Thursday was okay, because not a lot of people go clubbing during those days, but on a Friday night, Saturday, even Sunday night, when you have to walk around puke on the sidewalk, because people would drink, and then they would try to walk to the LaSalle apartments where I live, because they live there, and they'll be thrown up on the way. And sometimes I'll find puke in my elevator and stuff. But, because I'm not a clubber, but if you're a clubber, you'll see that as a pro. Because like my parents, they're clubbers. So for them, if you told them that they can live in an apartment for $950 a month, in downtown Minneapolis, next to the Gay 90s, Tom's Bar, the saloon, they would said, hell yes, we're jumping down there. We're taking that deal. But, my parents would liked it because they could have drinks and have fun and all that stuff, then be able to walk home without worrying about driving and sleeping and then go to work the next day. But downtown, they didn't move to downtown with me because my building did not offer free parking. You had to pay every day for parking. So unless you wanted to buy $200-ish a month parking pass, and we decided it's not worth it, so they stayed in Maple Grove and I lived in downtown by myself. So I paid $950 for a 550-foot studio. The LaSalle apartments, their studio wasn't, their studios were not fancy, but they were not slumlords either. The LaSalle apartments, LaSalle Plaza apartments or LaSalle apartments, yes, they need like new painted walls, and yes, they should get tile in the hallways instead of old carpet. Yes, the building needs some updates, I'm gonna say, but the building isn't ran by slumlord. When things broke, they always came and helped me fix it. Sometimes Crystal would forget, and then I would just go down in there and say, "Hey, Crystal, can you do this again the next day?" And then normally she'd that day fix it, so then she doesn't forget. So the LaSalle apartments / LaSalle Plaza apartments on the 9th, they were not slumlord apartments for me. For downtown real estate, $950 is cheap. And because I'm visually impaired, I don't drive, so I didn't have to worry about parking passes or whatever. I had the buses. I like, the one part I miss is South Minneapolis because Nicollet Mall turns into Nicollet Avenue. And then Nicollet Avenue ends at Lake Street. So the one part of downtown Minneapolis I miss is walking from my apartment from 9th Street to Nicollet Mall, walking down Nicollet Mall until Nicollet Mall ended and kept on walking down Nicollet Street. And then I would walk all the way down Nicollet Street all the way until Lake Street. And then I would eat at the White Castle there. And then I would, because that's like 3.5 miles. And then I would hop on the 18 bus right next to the old abandoned Kmart. And then I would take the 18 bus back home. And all the diverse restaurants on Lake Street, I miss. All the restaurants on Nicollet Avenue, I miss. Because there was once you get out of downtown Minneapolis and Nicollet Mall ends and it becomes Nicollet Street, it goes from all these fancy high-end skyscrapers to low population apartments. So you have you have all these mom and pop businesses, and then behind them you'll have 4-story apartments like the ones you find in Uptown, old brick 4-story apartments, and then behind them you'll have a bunch of single family homes. So when I wanted nature, I would walk back in those single family homes and look at the trees, and all that stuff. And then I could see the old apartments and all that stuff. And then if I wanted shops, I could continue walking down Nicollet Street or Nicollet Avenue. I forget which one it is. I'm sorry. I'm not going to Google it. I picture it in my head, and you can picture it too. And then I used to smell all the different foods and all that stuff. I miss the Goody Grocer. The Goody Grocer is because Nicollet Street will take you into the Whittier neighborhood. So down South Minneapolis is kind of divided into 2 sections. In the major freeway, I think it's 35W, goes down the middle, and everything on the west side of that is west South Minneapolis, and everything on the east side of that is east South Minneapolis. So this is going to be, so this is, the Whittier neighborhood is on the St. Louis Park and Edina side of South Minneapolis. So I went, so Nicollet Avenue or Nicollet Street, I forgot what it's called, would go into that side of the freeway. And then, you know, I liked it over there. It had all the food options and all that stuff. I liked West South Minneapolis because it had businesses. It had, even after the George Floyd incident, the businesses were repaired. You mean, the money was there, investors were coming in, because over there's big money. Because the chain of lakes is over in southwest Minneapolis, and everyone who has money in Minneapolis wants to live along the lakes, and they're in southwest Minneapolis. So over there's a lot of people with money in like the Whittier neighborhood, the Uptown neighborhood, I don't know if Linden Hills is considered part of that neighborhood, but I'm not sure. I never really went that far down there. And then, you know, Lake Calhoun / I don't know what the new name of it is over there. It starts with an M. Minnetonka or Minnetonka. It's something like that. They changed the name from Lake Calhoun to the Native American name to be respectful. And then, you know, there's because that area has money. They invest a lot of money over there. So when I was walking down Nicollet Avenue or Nicollet Street, I forget which one it is. It's the same road as Nicollet Mall, pretty much. And then, you know, down there, I would eat all these different food, go to the Goody Grocer. The Goody Grocer is the Whittier neighborhood's like mom and pop grocery store. And then there's a bunch of Hispanic grocery stores down there. There was a hardware store where I bought my shopping cart. Not the small one. The small one I got off Amazon. The big old looking one. For $74. It was cheap, it was old school, but I just needed it for my Walmart groceries, because the small one was for my Cubs, but if I'm taking a 45-minute bus ride to Walmart, I want more than a small grocery cart of food. So then I got the big one for my Walmart trips, to my Bloomington Walmart trips, and then a small one for my local Cubs trips, or Lund's trips, or Whole Foods trips, you know. So then, because if I'm going to Walmart, I'm buying a bunch of crap. So then, you know, and then that was a good thing, is southwest Minneapolis, I always have like the Uptown neighborhood, the Whittier neighborhood. Yes, some of those buildings need investment, but over there I never felt like scared or nervous, because the people that live along the lakes over there have money. And they can kind of invest in those neighborhoods over there. And then the people from St. Louis Park and Edina, who also have money, go into southwest Minneapolis and party. And have fun, and go boating, and go biking, and you know what I mean? So then the people with money in St. Louis Park and Edina also support that area. So then when I went over there, like the only part of southwest Minneapolis that you have to be careful is some parts of the Whittier neighborhood, because they have prison bars on their businesses, and during the day it's completely fine. Like you might have some homeless people like definitely by the old Kmart and stuff, because there's not enough affordable housing over there. Like when you're walking, you might see like beggars and all that stuff, but you mean, and they'll be honest with you, hey, I need money for alcohol, or hey, I need food because I blew all my last money on alcohol, or you mean, they would be honest with you about why they're homeless and why they're struggling, and they would like ask you for like money or donations or food. But as a visually impaired man that was working at the Mall of America, getting living paycheck to paycheck, I couldn't help them much. So I had to tell them no because I couldn't help them much. But minus the homeless people, I liked all the businesses. I liked, all that stuff. And then Lake Street, it's another iffy area, but it's not as bad in Southwest Minneapolis as it is in Southeast Minneapolis. Over by Matthews Park and all that stuff. That's in Cedar Riverside. That's a different monster, but in a different way. Each side of South Minneapolis has a different battle, but yes, but they both have their pros and cons. Let me just get there. And then I miss some of the people I would talk to, like the Goody grocery store is like they tried to sell produce and stuff to the people in South Minneapolis, so then they kind of access to fresh food and stuff. It was a little bit more expensive than going to a Cubs or Lunds and Barley's or Kowalski's or Whole Foods or Cub Foods or Target, because remember downtown Minneapolis there's barely no Walmarts because Walmart needs such a massive space. So a lot of smaller grocery stores don't need a massive parking lot like what a Walmart does. And then I would go there because to good grocer or good grocer. You would find on Google Maps, just type good grocer or goody grocer. It used to be called Goody Grocer, now it's called, I think it's Good Grocer. You'll find it. And then it was a little bit more expensive, but I went there because they had very good staff. And they were one of the only grocery stores in that part of Minneapolis, in the Whittier neighborhood, that didn't have the prison bars in the grocery store because they had bulletproof glass instead. So then the store could look prettier, and I felt comfortable there. I felt like the staff were nice there. And then they had a bunch of Hispanic grocery stores down there. I like getting Hispanic soda. The only part I didn't like about Hispanic soda was they had blueberry, raspberry, mango, whatever. The only part I didn't like about it is they don't have any diet versions of those. So I liked how they came in a glass bottle. I could find that easily in Southwest Minneapolis, but the only thing that I didn't buy much of that because I bought it once in a while as a treat. Like, okay, I walked more than normal. No ice cream today, but you can drink this instead. But if they had a diet version of those drinks, I would definitely buy it more often. Because I'm trying to be healthy, even if some days I'm not healthy, but I try. So I'm in that kind of battle mentally right now. Like today I ate salad, popcorn. So I'm trying my best here. And then I miss, never, like in downtown Minneapolis, I felt alone because in downtown Minneapolis, there's a lot of business people, like, that they go walk to their businesses in the Skyway, work in the Skyway, and then during the week, and then they walk to the Skyway to their apartments and they lock themselves in. But in like South Minneapolis, it's a different culture. They're more social. You're walking through their neighborhood eating ice cream and they're asking you, where did you buy the ice cream, what flavor it was. Some days when you're tired, it gets exhausting. That's the negative part about it. Like, I just got done working an 8-hour shift. I'm on my way home and then you want to talk to me. Or because I work customer service at the Mall of America, so my days off, I just wanted to go exploring but had no one talk to me. So sometimes when you're really exhausted and you want a break from people, South Minneapolis, because you're just walking, eating food and whatever, looking around the city, and everyone's asking questions. Oh, where do you live in Minneapolis? How do you like living in Minneapolis? It's a very social South Minneapolis is a very social place. Definitely if you go to the laundromat or an ice cream shop or a popcorn shop, things like that are very social events down there. And then I also went to Southeast Minneapolis, And East Minneapolis, I liked. East Minneapolis, it has less apartments and less congestion as Southwest Minneapolis. Southwest Minneapolis, some of the apartments don't even have parking lots because it's just a bunch of single family homes, shopping center, then apartment building built like 40, 50 years ago with grass around it. So then if you have a car, Southwest Minneapolis is kind of messes you up because there's nowhere to put your car, because at Southwest Minneapolis everyone's kind of stacked on top of each other like sardines. Though Southeast Minneapolis is a little bit different. Southeast Minneapolis, when you're going through downtown Minneapolis, Cedarside, Riverside is kind of compact, and you're living on top of each other like sardines. But the only reason why that is because they have a bridge in their neighborhood that goes from the east side of the river to the west side of the river. So if you're University of Minnesota campus student and you want someplace to live that's not fancy, I would suggest you live in Cedar Riverside, because Cedar Riverside has a little bridge that'll take you to the U of M campus. And it's way cheaper because Cedar Riverside is a very, 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 very old neighborhood. It was built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's a very old neighborhood, and some of the buildings are so old they don't have fire sprinklers. They don't have, some of the buildings in Cedar Riverside are so old that they don't have modern fire sprinklers. But because they don't have those modern safety features and stuff, the rents are really dirt cheap over there. So then you can go over that bridge into Northeast Minneapolis where the U of M is. So then when you're going through downtown in Northeast Minneapolis, when you're in Cedarside, Riverside, you'll feel like you're sardine on top of each other, even worse than Southwest Minneapolis. And then and you're like, oh, Dustin, Southwest Minneapolis has more space. That's only in the Cedarside, Riverside neighborhood if you're coming from downtown. But once you're through the Cedarside, Riverside neighborhood and you go into the Longfellow neighborhood, you're going to be like, okay, it goes from hundreds of apartments to no apartments. And then you're just going through a bunch of single family homes. And then randomly you hit the mall where my cousin lives, and there's a Target, Cub Foods, and an Aldi's and a Wendy's, and another kind of restaurant, and a bunch of smalling restaurants over there. And then you see two apartment buildings, and then you keep driving through that neighborhood, you see more single family homes, more single family homes, more single family homes, more single family homes, all the way until you hit the Minnehaha neighborhood, and then you see a big shopping center with 2 or 3 apartments, a Cub Foods. I think there's a Target there also, and an Aldi's. I'm not sure. I haven't been down there. I've only been down there once to that shopping center. And then boom, you keep driving. There's more single family homes, single family homes, single family homes. Suddenly you hit the Fort Snelling. And Fort Snelling is an army base, so just a big fenced off area with more single family homes. And then you hit Bloomington. So, and then or you hit Richfield and Bloomington. It depends on which kind of way which road you kind of take. So so her neighborhood, once you get, the only compact area of it is the Cedarside neighborhood, Riverside neighborhood, and then once you pass that on the east side of South Minneapolis, you're in a bunch of single family homes. And when you're down there, when you're biking, you're walking, you're taking the bus, you're seeing all these beautiful trees and nature, there's sidewalk, there's still lots of public transportation, but you're also in the middle of a single family neighborhood. And one day my cousin took me to the top floor of her apartment in the Longfellow neighborhood, and we were looking from her party room on the top floor. You can see all the single family homes in the distance, And the closest in the only building blocking her from seeing downtown Minneapolis was the U.S. Bank building. If the U.S. Bank building wasn't there, she could see into the heart of downtown Minneapolis, because between her building and southeast Minneapolis and downtown Minneapolis is all a bunch of single family homes. And then if you look to the right, you do see the Cedarside Riverside neighborhood, but but you can see into their neighborhood and you can see into downtown Minneapolis. So her neighborhood is a little bit, once you get through the Cedarside Riverside neighborhood, is a bunch of single family homes and just random apartments at the shopping centers. So it's very spaced out. People have plenty of places to park if you live in a single family home. If you live in the apartments, it's always hard to find a place to park. But if you live in the single family homes, it's easier to find places to park than southwest Minneapolis. So southeast Minneapolis is more spread out and more residential because it's along the Mississippi River. Southeast Minneapolis is along the Mississippi River. So if you go from my cousin's house and walk east by 4 or 5 miles, you hit the Mississippi River. And then once you hit that Mississippi River, you go into St. Paul or northeast Minneapolis. So because my cousin lives on the neighborhood along the river, when they built that neighborhood, they were thinking about everyone would want to kind of walk out their single family home, and they'll walk to the river, and then they'll walk along the river for their exercise. So her neighborhood is built very around the single family home, while the southwest Minneapolis is built more around shopping, eating, or whatever. But if you live in southeast Minneapolis, getting to southwest Minneapolis is easy because you just hop on the 21 bus or the 22, I forgot what bus it is, and you just take it down Lake Street. It'll take you under 35W, all the way underneath 35W, and into southwest Minneapolis, where you can party it up. And then you can take the 21 or 22 bus, I forgot which one it was, all the way back underneath 35W, down Lake Street, back to your side of South Minneapolis. And so then if you live in South Minneapolis and Southeast Minneapolis, you can just take the bus down Lake Street to Southwest Minneapolis, party in Southwest Minneapolis, and then take the bus back to your part of back to Southeast Minneapolis. Because partying in Southwest Minneapolis is different than partying in downtown. Because if you party in downtown, you get a lot of college students, drunks throwing up or whatever. But if you party in Southwest Minneapolis, it's mostly older adults in their 30s and 40s that have children. So they're going to go there, they're going to have 1 or 2 drinks and stop, and then they have to hop in their cars and drive home. Or they can take the bus back to Edina or St. Louis Park. So, and they have more responsibilities, they have more adult things they have to worry about. So when they party, it's not going to be in Southwest Minneapolis. It's not going to be as crazy as them partying in downtown Minneapolis. So, because downtown Minneapolis is more younger crowd that's partying, while Southwest Minneapolis is more of along like Nicollet, along Nicollet Avenue or Nicollet Street. Is more in Lake Street. It's going to be more adults who are driving there or taking the bus there, eating, and then going home. So I kind of miss all the restaurants, seeing all the trees, but still having all the public transportation options. Living close to my cousin, because getting from downtown to my cousin was only 10 to 15 minutes. It was great. I could see her a lot more than what I do now. It was a very good experience. And another neighborhood I miss in Minneapolis is the North Loop neighborhood / the warehouse district. So that was also a very nice neighborhood because they took all these old warehouses and they turned them into condos and apartments for millennials. So the millennials, they're like 2 or 3 bedrooms, can rent them and then raise their kids in them. And you know what I mean? So there's a lot of family friendly restaurants over there. There's a few breweries for adults who are single like me. There's a bus there. They'll take you to downtown Minneapolis, to North Minneapolis and stuff. And that's like, it's not like, to me, it's not my kind of vibe. But you know what I mean? But for some people, it's like North Loop is like the modern version of Southwest Minneapolis. So Southwest Minneapolis was built over 100 years ago, and it's a family kind of partying eating area. Well, the North Loop, that's in the north part of Minneapolis, it's more of the modern version of Southwest Minneapolis. So they're going to have tall modern buildings with restaurants in the bottom. They're going to have huge parking ramps and stuff. So if you're going to drive to party in Minneapolis and be an adult kind of party, you want to drive to North Loop, because North Loop has plenty of parking ramps for the modern day. But if you live kind of like in south part of Minneapolis, and you're taking the bus, you just want to go to Southwest Minneapolis because you don't have to worry about parking because you're taking the bus there. So to Southwest Minneapolis, the only biggest negative is there's lack of parking for cars. But if you're planning to drive, the North Loop is a better place to just eat, try something different. You mean in a classy kind of environment. The only neighborhood I didn't have mixed feelings about, I didn't love it or hate it, was Laurie Park. Laurie Park was a neighborhood in the west part of downtown. It's famous for the gay community because the gay community saved that neighborhood, because that neighborhood was dying, and then the gay community came in and they started updating the old apartments there, and they really saved that community. And they have in the middle, there's a park called Loring Park, and that neighborhood also has Minneapolis Technical and Community College, and it has St. Thomas University, a very Catholic university. And that's all in Loring Park. And a lot of gays moved in there because the neighborhood was dying and rent was cheap, and gays wanted 10 to 20 years ago, gays wanted to run away from their conservative parents. So then they this neighborhood's affordable, it's cheap, and a bunch of gays got together, and most of it's gay men, and there were some lesbian women in there, but most of it was gay men, and they took the old dying part of downtown Minneapolis, and they revived it. And so when you go to Loring Park, you're going to see a lot of gay pride flags, trans pride flags, because Loring Park is like the gay symbol of Minnesota. But the only thing I don't like about Loring Park is parking is B if you have to drive. All the buildings are so old and historic that they can't put parking ramps underneath. So there's nowhere for you to park. And a lot of the new buildings over there that do have parking, they're charging you like an arm and a leg for, because that neighborhood they know doesn't have a lot of parking, so the little parking there is premium. So if you live in Loring Park, don't expect to own a car. Just don't expect it, because the few parking over there is going to be expensive. It's going to be a gold digging amount. But if you want to own a car in Loring Park, just come one neighborhood over to downtown West, where I used to live, because the LaSalle ramp, the Dayton ramp, and the Radisson Inn ramp are barely ever full. So then you can pay for the monthly memberships there for dirt cheap compared to the parks in the Loring Park neighborhood, and then you can just walk the 3 blocks to your neighborhood and go to your apartment. So if you want to live in Loring Park, if you're gay or lesbian, bi, or just broke, and you want to live in Loring Park and you want to own a car, don't do a monthly rental payment plan over in the Loring Park neighborhood. Go to the downtown West neighborhood, just one to 3 blocks over, and do a monthly parking at those ramps, because those ramps will be way cheaper because you're in a business district and you're not in like Loring Park. Because in Minneapolis, the image of the neighborhood also increases the price. Because a lot of gay people want to live in Loring Park because they know when they move there, they're not going to be judged, they're not going to be discriminated against, they can be their true selves, and no one's really going to judge them for that. So I'm going to say if you're gay or trans or that in Minnesota, I encourage you to move into an old, cheap apartment in Loring Park. And if you want your car, just go to downtown West, like I said, and rent a spot there and just walk the 2 or 3 blocks. Because there you won't feel judged, you won't feel discriminated against, because there's like hundreds of other people like you in that neighborhood. That neighborhood doesn't have a lot of businesses. The only business they really have is Lunds and Barley's and a preschool. Like a charter kind of preschool. So like, yay, my excitement is going to Lunds and Barley's. Woohoo! That's what that kind of neighborhood is, because everything else over there is like apartment complex after 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 apartment complex. And the only thing really fun is when St. Thomas throws an event, or when Minneapolis Technical and Community College throws an event. And then those areas kind of become fun. And then, or what I used to do when I used to go there, I used to go to Lunds and Barley's, go to their hot bar, and I would like get food like from the hot bar, and then I'll walk to the garden in the middle of the Minneapolis Community and Technical College and eat there and watch the birds and the squirrels and all that and have a good time. And just to let you know, you don't want to eat food in Loring Park itself, because the birds and the squirrels will chase you. I learned that the hard way because no one told me. So I took my hot, beautiful chicken I bought from Lunds and Barley's, walked into Loring Park, and next thing you know, I had the garden of Eve like surrounding me. Squirrels were coming up, ducks were coming up because they all could smell the food. And the next thing you know, I have an army of squirrels all just staring at me, and I told them, this is chicken. You don't want to eat chicken. You're supposed to be fresh vegetable animal food. And they got so aggressive. I literally had to pack up my food, walk out of Loring Park, walk to the Minneapolis Community and Technical College that's next to Loring Park, and eat there in peace, because the animals knew that if they went to that college, they would be destroyed. So by the maintenance team of the school. So don't ever eat in Loring Park, and don't even bring water in Loring Park, because one day I was walking, I was drinking out of a water bottle, and the squirrels think I was drinking something good, because the squirrels start coming towards me and started following me, trying to get what's in my water bottle. So Loring Park has very aggressive squirrels, and ducks, and geese, and a swan. I don't know if there's more than one swan now, because it's been a while since I've been there, but at least I had one swan when I was there. So, and don't feed the animals. There's a sign that says, do not feed the animals. And you know what happens? All the old white ladies are sitting at the branch feeding the animals, when it says, do not feed the animals. So, so then, you know, other than that, Loring Park, I didn't really have any negative feelings towards it, or any like positive feelings towards it, because it's more of a mentally numb neighborhood. The only neighborhood I didn't really go into was North Minneapolis, because just me reading the news, what's happening at the Melvin Liquors up there, some of the what's happening at the Cub Foods over there. I never really wanted to take a risk with my life and go into North Minneapolis. I knew if I went during the day, I probably would be fine, but just me thinking about the stuff that happens over there, I didn't feel comfortable going over there. But South Minneapolis, I felt comfortable going during the day, because the South Minneapolis, even the west and east side of South Minneapolis, is very safe during the day, but at night is when you have to be careful. you have to be, because there's a prison bars on the businesses for a reason. Definitely in Southwest Minneapolis, when there's prison bars on the businesses for a reason, it is because they're trying to protect their store at night. So, so South Minneapolis is safe during the day. North Minneapolis I didn't really go to, so I can't comment on that. And yeah, there were some pros of living in Minneapolis, was the food, the walking, the nature, the public transportation, and all that stuff. Yeah, so I hope you guys like this video. I'll make another one when I'm ready to talk about the rest. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.